Hello, this is John Murky, and I'm going to give you a quick introduction to the public comment for mobile cross-enterprise document data element extraction, otherwise known as mXDE. So first up, why does mXDE exist? Well, it starts with the expectation that document sharing exists. We have MHDS, XDS, XCA. These document sharing infrastructures communicate documents. However, consuming documents is not always preferred. So there is also a QEDM, Query for Existing Data for Mobile, from the PCC committee, and a new HL7 IPA implementation guide that speak to consuming clinical content, clinical resources as FHIR resources. So mXDE bridges these two environments. mXDE defines a method for extracting FHIR clinical resources from the documents that are shared within one or more health information exchange. It's applicable to XDS environments, MHDS environments, and XCA environments. Any environment in which there are documents that are shared using a document sharing infrastructure. And mXDE also defines a provenance linkage from the clinical resources back to the documents where the data was derived from, so that when a client uses a clinical resource and they wonder where did this information come from, why they might do that might be because they're interested in a contextualization of that piece of information, so they can use the provenance as the linkage back to the document. So during this public comment, there are two issues that we invite comments about. One, when we went to convert to the implementation guide publisher, we noticed that there wasn't really any instructions on how one might transform the documents into FHIR resources. One example that came up was whether there should be guidance that requires or encourages the preservation of original identifiers that might be found on, let's just say, an observation within a CDA document, preserving that identifier in the FHIR resource. That identifier might not be directly usable by the client in the end. It might be an internal identifier, and that's one reason why they are not preserved. But that identifier is still very useful downstream to help deduplicate the data. So there's a question of whether there should be transform considerations in mXDE, and if so, what are those transform considerations? We invite comments on that topic. Another topic that came up was the original mXDE in the PDF supplement form chose not to use a document consumer actor grouping, but rather to update the ITI 43 transaction. In this way, mXDE would be notified that there was new information that it could decompose. But the problem that we understand with the current update is, well, this would mean that we would need to be updating other transactions to support environments like XCA and MHDS. If we grouped with document consumer, that arrangement would be automatic because they all have document consumer actors that can be triggered. Plus, document consumer actors can sign up for subscriptions. And third, a document consumer is potentially more natural landing spot for the decomposition event. One of the concerns that we expect is that there was a concern that a document consumer has a specific required testing at Connectathon, and that an mXDE intermediary wouldn't be able to satisfy those. But I think that issue can be addressed. So the significant changes from the previous version is that this has been converted from the previous PDF supplement form into the HTML implementation guide publication. As part of that, we pulled the provenance profiling into mXDE. It used to be in QEDM, but we expect that the provenance profiling is better suited in mXDE because this is the actors that create the provenance that would have the information to fulfill the provenance profiling requirements. Part of an implementation guide also enables us to provide examples of the provenance, but also examples of possibly some document and some derived data. The examples we have in there are very rudimentary, and please don't expect that the document example that's in there is a complete CDA document. By the way, if somebody has a test CDA document for which they also have a set of clinical fire resources that could be derived from it, I would be happy to receive that set to be used as an example in the implementation guide. We also, because we have an implementation guide, provided capability statements in requirements form, and we have defined a required dependency on MHDS, PDQM, PIXM, and basic audit log patterns. That dependency is probably logical since downstream are the RESTful interfaces, but maybe they were unnecessary. So the public comment is available, and we very much invite comments on the open issues as was discussed, any readability or quality issues, any recommendation for a better title. We've certainly heard that this title is a mouthful and might not be explaining things as well. Better explanation, better diagrams, better figures. There is also going to be an updated QEDM. That QEDM will better align with HL7 IPA. So the public comment is out. We expect to address those public comments this spring. So please provide us quality comments. Thank you.